Assuming this one has seen its fair share of road.
It's, yeah, an ocean and
Freight liners and all sorts of stuff. Oh, there it is.
56. At
Black.
least the wood is 56.
What else from this is 56?
Well, nothing.
Even pickup's been changed?
That pickup, I thought that was the original pickup for a lot of the years that I owned this guitar. Fella that was fretting it pulled it out and was cleaning it up and said, "That's an old Duncan P90."
Really? But this is the one that started it all, right? This is the first Junior.
I got it in 1993, late 93, early 94, I forget, right around that time. And when I got it, a Bigsby had just come off it.
Yeah.
It made its way around tons of players in Atlanta, but it was initially Rick Richards' guitar. And there's a few videos on YouTube that you can see of him playing it at clubs around Atlanta.
And what did it look like when Rick had it?
It was shiny, but I'm told,
obviously refin. This is,
yeah.
And it looks like maybe a couple of times.
I'm told
it was refinned.
The guy's name who refinished it here in Atlanta in the late 70s, early 80s, and it was a tobacco guitar. Headstock break twice over.
During your time or
Nope.
Before your time?
Before my time. You look in the certain light, you can see the two graphite studs going
all right up the back.
But I put those letters on. It was sort of a tribute to Ernest Tubb because he would put thanks on the back of his guitar. And I spelled y'all wrong. And I remember it was before I was sober. And I did it in a dressing room somewhere at a club. But I vaguely remember trying to remember where the apostrophe would go. And somebody walked into the dressing room right after I did it and was like, "That ain't right, it goes there." And I was like, "Oh yeah," but it's already too late. So that's how you judge your southernness, ladies and gentlemen, is whether or not you know how to spell y'all
correctly. Let me see this thing. Now,
not a light guitar either.
What did it look like when you got it? How much of this is you?
80% or maybe 85% of that is me.
So this was a black, just a fully black guitar when you bought it.
Yeah, this is all me. It was already starting to come off in spots. Yeah. A buddy of mine put a sticker of a pinup girl on it at one point without even asking if that was cool. Yeah. And I pulled it off and then took some of that. But it was just years of smoky bars and late nights. And
now, has Rick ever contacted you on this guitar trying to get it back from you? Or?
No, we've spent time talking about it. Just a couple times been like, "Man, I sure would like to have that guitar back." But he told me once, because I asked him, did he use it on any of their records? And he said, "I used it on the early recordings that wound up as Keep the Faith, the Satellite's first EP, but he couldn't remember which songs. He wound up with TV Juniors, that was his favorite thing, but he said he never could keep his guitar in tune. I've never had a problem. But
the Badass was on there when?
Not this one. Another one was. This is a repro.
Oh, okay.
The original one, I still got it. It's covered in rust and barnacles.
Man, stories it could tell. That's your whole career on this thing.
Well, in the late 90s, Britt, Richard, and myself were in another band, and we made a record with Danny Korchmer. And I had this guitar, and I took it to New York to the studio, and I pulled it out of the case, and it was the only guitar I owned at the time. And he laughed and said, "What is that?" And I said, "It's my guitar," you know. And we started to track, and he was letting me play through a little Tweed Harvard, which I was blown away. I'm like, this is unheard of. And before I could even plug this guitar in, he handed me his really clean TV Junior and said, play a real guitar, a real Junior. And I played it, and it was okay. And I could kind of see him kind of wondering. And then he said, "Get your guitar." And I plugged it in and strummed a G chord, and he goes, "You stay on your guitar."
Nice.
It's got a thing. Sometimes they have a thing.
But this is the Desert Island.
It's the best sounding one I have, and it's just something about that piece of wood.
Yeah. That's killer, dude. That's killer.